So we're going straight into Bib Management. And again, like, nobody came in, some people left, so we're the same people. We have not changed. Real quick, I just want a show of hands. How many of you are not in charge of assigning bibs? Sweet. All right, you guys will learn a little bit into this side of things. And how many of you have assigned bibs within RunSignup before, in any way, shape, or form? Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna go straight in because for those of you that didn't know you can assign bibs, go race day, bibs, assign bibs, and assign chips. There's two other fields here, Bib Validation and Bib Labels. We'll obviously be doing a lot of the assigned bibs and chips. So the Bib Validation, I usually tell people the only time you want to turn this on is if you ordered personalized bibs. And by personalized, I mean you put somebody's name like printed on the tie back. And the reason being on that is because if you give bib number 15 to Samuel, and it says Samuel across it, and 2 weeks out, Samuel decides to defer, and so 15 is no longer assigned, you don't want 15 reassigned to Julie because she's going to get a bib number 15 with Samuel, and she's not going to be excited about that. So by doing bib validation, you're basically saying it doesn't go back into the pool if you have a deferral or a refund or a cancellation or something like that. And then the bib labels are just quite literally that. Some of you import into your scoring platform to assign bib labels. You can assign bib labels with custom fields and things like that within RunSignup. It's super easy. You can even do subsets of like filter by registration date or by bib number or any of that stuff. So we're not going to talk much about those because we can give you like a quick how-to or send you a link to read on RunSignup support on those. Assigning bibs though, different story. I do a lot of talks with people about bib assignment, and so I came to the conclusion that we don't use the same words a lot, and so I just want to predefine some things. Pre-assigned bibs are assigned prior to packet pickup. They can be manually or auto-assigned. That might sound obvious to some of you, but bear with me. Auto-assigned means bibs are automatically assigned during the online registration, pre-assigned by putting in a bib range. Okay? Dynamic bib assignment, and this is where auto and dynamic are like, dynamic bib assignment is kind of like a cool catchphrase, and I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing when we talk about dynamic bib assignment. So dynamic bib assignment is bibs are assigned on a first come, first served basis. So the first person, I walk up as the first person to packet pick up, they pick up whatever bib is in front, and dynamically, at that time, assign it to me, and that's how I get my bib. And you can assign this through the Checkin app process, web or the app, and it saves the number of bibs, it allows you to have several packet pickups running concurrently, and there's less pre-event prep. So who's responsible, in case you guys aren't aware? And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because you're like, Chris talking about dynamic bib assignment. It's awesome, I want to do it. If you're the RD, you need to talk to your timer about this. Like, communicate. It's kind of important. So one of the two of you are assigning the bibs. Both of you need to understand who that person is. And I've had situations where I assigned the bibs in RunSignup, and the race director printed something out and handed out different bibs, and my day went incredibly well. So communicate, because you might be ordering, somebody else might be ordering. It's not just about the day of assignment, you have to prepare in advance. So communicating is key. Current process. So kind of like we did on the last one in your current process, kind of the current headaches of bib assignment. And again, like I am taking a snapshot of what I did before I started using this, and magically it seems to be a very, very similar process to everybody else. So on whatever, Wednesday, you're downloading the database, or Wednesday night. So you get the database, you sort by alpha, last name, or first name, and then you sort by last name, so you have a perfect little alphabetized database. You add a column for bib number, 1 through 3,000, because you're amazing and have a great big race. And then you import that file, that CSV, into your scoring platform, or send it to your timer. Is that for any, how many of you are manual, like not assigning bib numbers in RunSignup right now? Are all of you assigning bib numbers in RunSignup? Okay.
No, I don't.
So how many of you, that process I just described, have you used it before? Like almost everybody? Close? Yeah? How many of you are currently using it? Some of you? Okay. Basically, why use us or why use RunSignup to assign the bibs? Number one, emails, pre-event emails. If you're not currently doing this, it's pretty cool. Well, number one, in case you didn't know, you can send emails out of RunSignup. Number two, there's this really cool thing at the bottom of your emails that are replacement tags. And there's a bunch of super neat replacement fields that you can use. One of which is you can put the bib number in if you have them auto-assigned. The other is you can put a QR code at the top for the Reg ID for scanning. This Bib Management syncs with the race day suite, so timing, scoring, check-in, all of it. It can be set to automatically happen when somebody registers, and it speeds up packet pickup. Just speed this up a little bit. Oh, and at the bottom there, I just took a picture. You can put a barcode to speed things up even more. And I was talking with somebody earlier about numbers, and if I, from like a quick snapshot of about 5 events that we did, or 5 events that we did that had, that you had to manually look somebody up, and they were pre-assigned bib numbers, with 1 unit or 1 device in a 5-minute period, we could do 7 or 8 people checked in, which is okay, not bad. If it's dynamically assigned, where we're punching in the number, we could do about 15. So we doubled it. When we went to scanning dynamically, like this, that was that picture I showed you on the last one, where we were doing 30 per 5 minutes. So we see a doubling of efficiency every single step. So still 7 or 8 per 5 minutes is not bad. But compared to 30, like think about the volunteers you don't need or can be put out on a course or doing something else now.
Chris, can I throw one comment in there? We've also noticed a big increase in data quality going from typing to scanning.
Agreed.
We've noticed probably
I'll repeat this.
a big decrease in typos,
So,
mismatch, that kind of stuff.
as with your paper forms, that someone's able to change something where you might get a lot of data issues, the same thing can happen when when a volunteer is manually typing in a bib number. It's probably about the same rate as someone getting handed a pre-assigned wrong bib number, which might be a few out of like 5 out of 1,000 or something like that. But when scanning it, they can't mess it up unless your bib manufacturer screwed up printing it. It's not, and I've never heard of that ever being the case. It's going to assign the correct bib to the correct person as they're checking. So Bib Management Options, for those of you that have used it, these are all of your selections there. It's undergo race day bibs, assign bibs. That's what we talked about. So we're going to go through each scenario. I'm going to pass it off once we get to auto to Matt. So, and since it sounds like most of you have moved past the current model, I'm going to go through some of these fairly quickly. So importing the bib numbers from a CSV file, it's just what we talked about. Download your participant data, sort it however you want it, assign the bib numbers, and then upload them. You can delete everything out. And this is your same process. The only difference is you're putting it back into RunSignup. So you can use some of those other tools like Checkin and things like that. You only have to upload the Reg ID and the bib number back into RunSignup. Some of your timing software might need the chip code also pushed up, but anyway. So I've just, again, it's your participant data with no bibs. You quite literally sort it however you want with bib number as one of the columns. And then you assign however you want. I realize this is small and you can't read it very well. So 101 through 109. And then after you push it back in, it gives you this screen where you can put Reg ID and bib. You can map it to the column headers.
One thing I'd like to jump in here.
Yes.
Really, really nice feature on the import is this is allow duplicates right here. So if you're doing like a relay team event where you need to have the same bib number for each participant and you're like, oh, I can't use this feature because it doesn't let me assign the same bib number to multiple people, you can just make sure you check that box.
That is importing. So that's like step 1 from your old way of doing things. Manual assigning bibs, This is, I usually don't suggest doing this much at all if you have a race over, I don't know, 40 people. And I'm not exaggerating with that number. There's not a good, I have yet to think of a case, and maybe Matt can come up with one where this is great. Because you quite literally choose what races, if you have a 5K, 10K, or all, and it brings up all of your participants. And you can assign the bib numbers. And if you have one that you want to assign, don't open this. Go into your participant data, search for the participant, and you can actually hit the edit button beside them and change their bib number solo. And it's way easier to find them. It's quicker, and you see a lot more of their data. So if you're just doing a one-off bib change, use the participant field. Yes?
I was going to say, I use this for one particular race that has about 30 people that they decide that they want to give them like numbers 1 through 30, and then they literally email me a list with these of those people, and then I have to go and find them. So I've done it both ways, or the way you say it through the participant.
Sure.
So this way seems to be a little faster for me. So that's the only
that sounds like an appropriate use case. So, but again, she has 30 participants in an event. They assign the bib numbers.
No, I have hundreds in the event. They have 30. They
30
want to have
people.
numbers 1 through 30.
Gotcha.
And then
Okay.
just like everybody else, then after that we assign up.
Okay, gotcha. Well, still, appropriate use.
So after you assign them, do you bring them in with the manual bid, the bid number and the registration number? Do you put them in?
I don't upload them manually. I use that.
No, this is actually, you can search for the people and just assign, once you assign the bib, there's a save button at the bottom.
30, how do you bring the rest?
Then I go back to the bib assignment field and I do it alphabetically.
Yep.
And it skips those people that are already assigned a number.
So
Okay,
let's go on to the next one.
Okay.
And this is the next case that she was just talking about. Assigning bib numbers, usually it's by alphabet. And it's this one right here, assign bib numbers. And so once you click into that, you have multiple different ways to assign the bib number. So most people choose this first option, last name, first name, address, as the sort function, which is what most of you guys that were ever sorting by in your CSV were doing. And then you quite literally choose what events, your range, and this is actually the only way you can overwrite, and you have to click a button, but it is the only way you can overwrite bibs already assigned in the system. So you have to go here, you can clear people out, but this is the only way to accidentally overwrite, and you have to try pretty hard. Like you have to get to this, and you have to click overwrite existing bib numbers. So if you're worried in any other place about doing that, as long as you don't click the overwrite button, it should be good to go.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Now we're going to talk a little bit about auto-assigning bib numbers. So what auto-assigning is, again, is we are automatically assigning when the person registers a bib number. Auto-assign is not the volunteer automatically assigning to them when they're checking. It's when it happens at registration time. So we're going to try and get through the rest of these slides. It's going to be a little bit tight on time, so I'm going to try and speed through them quickly as I can. When you go into the Bib Assignments options, you select Auto-Assign Bibs at time of registration. You pick which events you would like to start auto-assign process for. You can pick multiple different ones. Set your bib ranges. You can have 2 bib ranges per event. Basically, usually it's you have your first major, you ordered 1,000 bib numbers for your 5K, and you realize you might go over, so you have a secondary set of bibs, 1,300 and up that you use as your secondary bib range in case you go over that first bib range. Share bibs with other events. It's a really important setting. A good example is only 1 bib 401, so sharing this bib ensures that there's only 1 401 assigned. So if you have a 5K and a 10K and you're sharing the bib pools between the two, that's when you want to use that setting. You want to check out the setting down here, assign bib numbers to people who have already registered. So essentially what that setting does is it is applying the rules you're defining right now to previous participants who have already registered. If you don't check that box, it means from this point forward, I'm going to begin assigning bib numbers to anybody who comes up. That's really important to understand that distinction. You can set up these auto-assignment rules and apply them to existing registrations if you'd like to, but you do have to check that box. That's what you want. Go next.
It will not overwrite.
It will not overwrite.
No overwrite on that screen.
So that's also very, very important. Again, it will not
Sorry, can you
overwrite.
go back to that?
Assign bibs to people who have already registered. Steve.
Yeah, one quick question. I've had this happen periodically. There'll be people that move to another event where they'll free up a bib number. And I don't know what I've done, but I'll go back and reassign that bib number to the registration. I've had it happen twice.
And you don't want that bib number to be reassigned?
No, they've already got labels on them, their people's names on them and all that.
That's where that
So
validation.
this is, yeah, he's asking about.
How did I do that? Okay.
That's in Bib Validation. We'll talk about that actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go to the next one. So dynamic bib assignment. That's one thing you can use. You can use the assign through quick participant report. This is like the old school version of the check-in apps. So you can go to the next slide here. Basically, it's just a report where you can look up participants, edit or check them in here. There's settings up the top via the report customization. You can do all sorts of different things. So this is when you click the edit check-in. You can assign a bib number here. This is compatible with any barcode scanner. So if you have the old school USB barcode scanners, you can use that. It basically thinks it's a keyboard. So you put your cursor in the bib number field, you scan it, blows it in, and it will actually automatically do the check-in and save for you when you scan it. So
Just shows the bib number in there.
yeah, so basically we assigned the bib number now. You can see it here. You can see we've got some other information here. You can see what group they're in. You can see what event they're in. You can change it, which is really handy. This is nice in the web report. You can do a lot of stuff. It's really easy. If you are the administrator, you have your laptop out, you're okay with being logged into a computer. It's a really simple way to use this. So there is a way to actually delegate access to the web check-in report, which is a really nice way to generate a unique link that you can send to volunteers so they can use it without having full dashboard access. So basically, if you want to use web check-in, but you're not comfortable logging into a series of computers, use delegated access. We've got a great how-to on it. It just allows you to have a predefined link that you can share with volunteers, and they'll have access to that race for a little bit without your full backend. So dynamic bib assignment via the Checkin app. There are two ways to assign bib numbers dynamically through the Checkin app: manually typing them in or scanning a barcode or QR code. We've talked about this a little bit. So manually typing in the number, make sure you turn on Checkin app on sign up. That's what Chris was talking about earlier. Make sure you enable it for that date range. Search for the race, change settings to your liking, like Chris talked about. Search for the participant, check them in, assign a bib number, repeat. It's a little bit of a lengthy process, but you start to get it pretty quickly. And we're going to show on the screens here and how to do that. So you'll see the information here. You can customize all this data like Chris showed before. One thing that I highly recommend is there is a setting to show bib number fields in the view, and that's really handy. It's a good visual. You can see who has bib number assigned and who doesn't. It's off by default. We're actually changing that shortly.
On this, I just want to add, on the first image, you see the bib number is not applicable. They hit check-in. That's where you type in the bib number. And then once they're checked in, you see the bib number is 555. And you hit the back button and you see now Clark Kent has a bib number in RunSignup of 555. So it assigns it within RunSignup.
So, okay, what's different about scanning with a camera QR code? Not too much. There's a setting. I would recommend enabling auto show camera on bib assignment. What that does is when you go to check someone in, it'll bring up the camera view on the phone or the tablet, and it will automatically be ready to scan that QR code on the bib labels to check them in right away. It's just a lot faster. So here's the process. You come in, click check in, and this screen shows up. Bam, you get your 1101 bib number. It's assigned, and they're in the report, and all good. It's a lot faster. It's going to reduce the amount of errors you have in your system. So I highly recommend trying it out if you haven't already. Okay, group team bib assignment is the next one. And so group teams are kind of weird. The way we do them in RunSignup is we have two fields: individual bib number and group team bib number. So it depends on what you're trying to do with it, but we do allow individual bib numbers and group bib numbers on RunSignup. So with group team bib assignment, we only really have an auto assignment policy that's available here. So you can set up the starting and ending bib number ranges for your teams, and you can set two of them, and then make it a primary or a secondary range, and then for which group types am I assigning these bib numbers for. So similar to the assignment policies you have for individuals, I recommend if you're doing a group, like a relay team type race, I almost always actually go with the old school method of assigning bib numbers by a spreadsheet because I know what order I want my teams to be in. And with this method, it kind of just puts them in by registration. Yeah, you'll see here, I've got this few members here, Fred, Barney, and Wilma, all part of the We Run for Fun group, and they all have the same bib number assigned here. There's an additional column for individual bib number here. So if you're one of those races that requires you have a different individual bib number from the group, we do support it. I don't see it very often, but it is available. Okay, so is that all the slides?
This is just bib validation.
Oh, okay.
What kind
I
of
want
work
to talk a little about bib validation because Steve was talking about that. This is what we were saying. So if you go to bibs, assign bibs and chips, bib validation, this is where you can say I don't want those bibs to be reused or put back in the pool if they've been deferred, refunded, and so on. So it's that bib validation setting that you were looking for. There you go. Prevent reassigning bibs for non-active registrations. That's the one that you were looking for.
And then bib labels.
Bib labels. So this is actually great. This is one of the biggest features that I think people overlook in RunSignup. Really great system for building bib labels. It scales everything automatically for you. It allows you to put dynamic placeholders in, and it's really slick. So I remember, and I'm sure you guys remember, doing mail merges. Sucks. I hate it, and it never turns out the way you want it to look. So I highly recommend checking these out. Go to Go Race Day Bibs. Build bib labels, the next one. And what you get is this weird kind of screen. It doesn't really make sense when you first look at it. I'll explain it to you. On the left here, it's question mark, comma, question mark, new line, bib, colon, space, question mark, and so on and so forth. So the question marks are replaced with drop downs that you can pick any field from our database. So this first question mark is going to be last name, then a comma that I entered there, and then another question mark, which I'm going to replace with first name. So these question marks are getting replaced with dynamic data like Incredible Hulk and Captain America. So essentially what you're doing here is you're building out this form on the right from the data you're putting in on the left. So you can put in here and pick which fields you want to show, set the label order, and then I always recommend this setting here, output a full column before moving to the next column. What that does is that if you're using Avery labels that are the 3x10 style, they fold over, and I've labeled, I don't know how many millions of bibs in my life, but it goes so much faster if you flip the one column in and just tick, 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 tick. So by default, we have the setting off so that it prints them this way. If you enable a setting, it'll print them this way. So you can just go down the list, down the next column, down the next column. It's way faster than going across them. So highly recommend that setting if you're using it. And then the next one, include a barcode and bib number. Like I talked about before, if you're labeling anything, use that. It's really nice to have. If you're using kiosks or something like that, you can hook up a barcode reader too. It's nice to look up the bib number fast. And that's what would look like here. So essentially you've got the information that automatically scales to fit. You can fit a ton of information in there. It's going to make it really small, but that's to be expected. Most important thing is this and all in capitals at the top here, print at 100% with no margins. Do not select the autofit option. May not make any sense until you're going to print it, and you'll see all of those settings mentioned, margins, autofit on your browser window. Just check out the printer settings before you print it out, otherwise the scaling's not going to be right, it's going to be all out of sorts.
I'm sorry, just on my, can you set, like, I only want bibs 1,000?
Yeah, so you can actually customize the participant report on RunSignup before you run the bib labels. So if you go to like the participants report, the regular participants report, you can run bib labels from there. And before you do that, you can say in the report options, you can just limit it to like bibs 1 through whatever, or registrations X through Y.
And then if you have 2 different races in the same day, you can set any labels for this race.
You can do, yes, so you can say I want to pick the 5K event, it'll limit the report to the 5K event, and then when you build bib labels, it's only going to run it on the report data you have visible.
It's just an export option on the participant drop down.
Yeah, this screen right here on the left is actually, you've noticed those options at the top before when you've searched for participants. So it's just an export option on that participant info.
There's one more right here, yeah.
I have not used the barcode, haven't not printed those on bibs. I use the auto assign and the bib labels a lot, and I love that. Where do you get the barcode from? I know that's probably a really
So if you check this box, that's where you get it from. It prints it out on the label, actually.
No.
What is the barcode?
Where do you get the barcode to have printed on the bibs?
It's just
If you check this, it'll put it into the label itself.
Okay. Oh, it'll put it on the label.
Yeah, it'll actually make the barcode and put it on the label for you.
Got it.
But I
Okay.
will say, if you are doing dynamic assignment, or if you just work with a bib printer, if you ask them to put barcodes in the bibs, they're going to be able to do that.
But then the scanners, like, we can get the scanners through y'all.
You can use the Checkin app on your phone. and
Yeah,
scan
you
it.
can check it out on your phone.
And so it'll read that.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
A barcode is really just a font. Like, you choose what that number is. Most of the time, you're saying, I want a barcode on the bib. It's actually like the font is star, the number of the bib, and then star. And the stars just qualify that the bib number's in between to start and stop the scanner itself.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I just wasn't familiar with
No, it's cool. Yeah.
So if you go into Word, you can actually like usually change. You might have a barcode font on your computer already.
We gotta wrap up. Thanks again, guys.
Demo room tomorrow.
Yeah, demo room tomorrow. Please come down, say hello. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.